What is up, saintly strangers? I just look for adjectives that start with S on my phone before we start recording. So what is up, saintly strangers? Welcome to the Strange Sessions. As always, I am Kurt, and I am joined by my glamorous co-host,
Oh, yeah,
Krista.
super glamorous. Hi.
You are glamorous.
Well, thank you.
With your hat on and all that stuff.
This winter hat is super glamorous.
I don't know.
Down here.
If you don't want to, you do the
Oh, yeah,
spiel.
yeah. If you don't want to sit through the next 20 minutes of...
We don't blame you.
Taste test, etc. Just hit pause, check the show notes. I went through old comments on like old videos, and man, people are mean.
Oh,
especially about it was the Lisanne Froome, Chris Kramer's and Lisanne Froome.
Yeah.
People are like 20 minutes in and they haven't even gotten to the story yet. Should I keep listening? And like,
people
is this a taste test? Blah blah blah. So, and I don't think we were putting this timestamp on back then, so we're doing that now.
Well, those people can go kick rocks for all I care.
Wow.
I know that's a little harsh.
That is our video that has the highest views, actually, though.
Yeah, because that's a popular
topic.
That's a popular topic.
Yeah, people thought we were kind of too snarky in that video, actually.
Really?
Yeah. They didn't think we were sensitive enough for the topic we were covering.
I always try to make sure we are.
I know.
But
I think I left a comment that was like, not at all. That's not our intention.
No.
Like, if you listen to us, you know that's
like
not
if you
who
listen,
we are.
If you listen to the Sofa King podcast, I just listened to their episode about 9/11. It's just like, holy cow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's we're not
like too much joking around.
Yeah, we're not that snarky.
No.
But that's us, you know. I mean,
there's also episodes where you get choked up. So I mean,
yeah, it is what it is, I guess. That's why I don't read comments. That's why I don't read our comments.
The comments we get now are all so nice and supportive. So
please comment if you want. If you're nice, please comment.
Yeah. If
otherwise,
you're not, skip
move
it.
on.
Don't be a troll.
Exactly.
Like I said, those were old comments. But anyway, check the timestamp. Wow, I never even got to that.
Oh.
The topic start will be posted in the show notes. So.
And I think there's going to be a second time start, because the first half of this episode is going to be nature of reality stuff, which can be deep and confusing, talking about parallel universes, quantum immortality. So then if people want to just skip that, the second half of the episode is going to be like stories of glitches in the Matrix, which people will want to maybe just go instantly to.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you for that. I'm fascinated by nature of reality stuff. I really am. But I understand that some people aren't. So this episode will be half and half. So I'll probably have 2 times for you to either start listening to the topic or
the second
stories.
topic. Yeah.
Shout outs to new strangers, and there aren't any.
Wah, wah.
But that's okay. I want to give a shout out to stranger Tiana, who sent me, I'm like, you guys know this, I'm in a bad place right now and just kind of in a funk, and she sent me a gratitude journal, a really nice gratitude journal.
Thoughtful. Yeah.
And this deck of cards that I draw one at the beginning of every day, and it tells me like what I need to try to do that day. Like yesterday it was like I had to avoid lying, any kind of lying.
My instinct was, but do you?
I do,
but
for
then
like stupid,
about
like
it. Yeah,
you know, like stupid stuff.
Like somebody asks you, "How are you today?" and your instinct is to say, "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?" When actually maybe you're not fine.
No,
we all do.
Yeah,
that.
I'm trying to get better at that and mindfulness and all that. So Tiana, thank you so much. You are the best. And that's the only real shout out I have. Do you have any shout outs? As you drink your shine?
Yeah. So I was gonna say I'm drinking moonshine. I like to drink out of these big what do you call this? Mason jar. At home. I don't know. They're easy to wash and easy to drink out of. And it's just water.
So you might want to keep that by your side, because for the taste test for today, here's the thing. We're at least halfway through this season.
Yeah.
And we've had it easy.
We have. Oh, Kurt.
So I've seen this, and I'm always like, I need to try that sometime. So now we are trying it.
And you're like,
today.
I guess I'll make Krista try it too.
Yes. And I'm 99% sure we are going to absolutely hate it.
Oh,
But so
you're
ready?
Right. We've had it easy.
We have had it. We've had those sodas that were all awesome.
My camera ready.
Everything we've had is awesome.
Yeah.
This I do not think is going to be a 10 out of 10.
Even the crappy soda we had was pretty good.
This will not be a 10 out of 10. You ready?
I'm scared.
You can open that one. There you go.
Thanks. Looks like a cheese packet. I'm sure it's not. Oh. 10 Jang stick barbecued flavor. Is this fish?
It is dried fish on a stick.
Or this could be good, actually. I'm going to be very hopeful about this.
I am not, because we have had very little success with fishy items.
Okay. I'm going to take a picture of this. Yeah, we haven't.
There were regular ones and barbecue flavored ones, so I got the barbecue flavored ones in the hopes that would boost the point up.
Did we have like a salmon jerky?
Yes,
at one
and
point?
it was not good.
And I bet this is kind of like.
But the
salmon
barbecue
jerky.
flavoring might
be good.
Might cover it up.
What kind of fish is it?
Oh, it says on the back it's lizard fish, which I have never heard of in my life.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Oh, look at they even give me the handy. I'm afraid that it's gonna stink. Doesn't really smell like anything. Okay, that's promising. I'd rather it not smell like anything. Oh.
Okay, now it does smell like something.
Yes, it does.
Like I said, we've had it easy, so we are due for a.
We have.
It looks
Looks like a dog
like
treat.
what kid is gonna be like?
Yeah,
look,
give me that fish on a stick.
It looks like
not fish sticks. Fish on a stick.
It looks like a fruit roll up.
It does a little bit, or like
it's
a rawhide.
fish roll up on a stick.
It kind of has a rawhide look too.
Oh,
yeah, that's not good. I'm gonna try to show this to the camera. I don't know if you can see that.
Like how?
Oh, it smells like cat food.
It smells like when you're. It does smell like cat food. It smells like when you're walking on the beach in Manitowoc and all the dead alewives are on the beach.
Yeah, or
That's
carp.
exactly,
like a carp has washed up somewhere. Ugh, are you ready?
Ready.
Ew. Oh. I mean, it's reminiscent of tuna. Oh, that's not good. Why would anyone eat this?
Oh, it's not even like.
The barbecue sauce is good, but I can't get past. Did you see the tiny bite I took? Kurt just went in for another one. No.
I'm like not getting. It's just. Oh.
There's a tiny bit of barbecue right on the front end, and the rest of it is just like fish. And I love fish.
At first, I thought it tasted like smoked fish, which is good.
Yeah, I had smoked salmon for my lunches all week. This is not what that tastes like. I'm not taking any more bites. I don't know how you're still eating this right now. Is it like growing on you, or are you just committed?
A little bit of both.
It's growing on you? I can't do it. You're not. Look at you. Oh my God. Here, you can put that over there. Ugh. Thank you.
Okay, that's.
Wish I had gum.
It grew on me. I
kind of gum.
No, I don't. But it did grow on me. It seriously did. Like I don't mind it.
That's not gonna grow on me.
Huh.
The face you made when you first ate it, and now you're like, I'm gonna eat this whole bag.
I might take those home.
Yeah, you feel free to take those home.
It's not a 10 out of 10, but I would give it a
2.
5.
I'm giving it a 2 just because I thought the barbecue sauce was okay.
I'm going to give it a 5 because I thought it wasn't horrible.
Okay. That's not horrible. That's like a great review. It wasn't horrible.
No,
I didn't gag.
Very fishy aftertaste, though. Ooh.
Yeah, no. Boy, Olay.
Entertain our listeners while I drink.
Oh, every time you tell me to do that, I'm like,
okay, that wasn't horrible.
Ugh. I feel like that's not a shining review.
It's not, but they should save it right on. They should buy that from us so they could just have it on the front of the package where it says
not horrible.
The Strange Session says it's not horrible.
We will sponsor our video and we'll say it's not horrible.
Our first official sponsor. No, I'll eat those.
Okay.
Like they're probably healthy, maybe.
They had protein in them.
Yeah. Okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought. And do we have anything else?
I don't think so.
We haven't got anything in our P.O. box lately.
No.
So
Matthew probably is like, they're not opening my letters anymore, so why would I send them anymore?
We got to open those and scan them. So if you'd
need
like to
intern.
If you'd like to send us something, please send us something so that my trip to the post office is not wasted. So thank you.
We're not asking for gifts. I mean, you could even just send us a postcard.
Even the creepy ones from Milwaukee with the clowns. No? Do we have any other housekeeping?
I don't think so.
Next episode is going to be
a side session.
A side sessions because Krista can't get together in 2 weeks for some reason. Was it work?
Yes, I'm traveling. I'm going to be gone that whole week.
Kansas.
I just want the weekend
Kansas,
off.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So no. So the next episode will be We did it last season, and I'm not going to say it because I want people to be surprised. But it's an episode.
The side session is also going to be something different for that week or that following week. Then,
yeah, the side session will be something different. We're going to see how that's going to work.
Yeah,
that should work okay.
Yeah,
but so
we're being very vague.
Yeah,
Sorry.
The next episode will be a repeat of a side session that we did last season. That it is strange sessions-ish material, but non-subscribers have not heard it. Yep. So that'll be the next episode, and then after that we'll be back with a new episode that I'm excited about because it'll be kind of a...
Do I know what this is?
Yeah, a road trippy episode.
Oh, that. Yeah.
That'll be
Which is what that one side session is going to also kind of be. It'll be outtakes from our road trip.
Yeah, and Jim has to come.
Yeah,
I
agree.
So it'll be fun.
Yeah, I think so.
Anything else?
Nope.
Time are we looking at, girl?
I mean, we're at 26 minutes. We're fine.
Oh, we're pretty good.
We had a lot of banter, but that's okay.
Do we have any other banter?
Nope, we're all bantered out. Our Ko-fi subscribers got an earful of horror movies and video games. That's what we talked about for the first 15 minutes.
I don't think I have anything to banter about.
No, I think we're good.
I feel like there was something else I was going to bring up, but I can't for the life of me think of what it was. So I think we're just going to jump right into the main story.
Let's jump in.
As you guys know, I love anything about the nature of reality. So the first half of this episode, we're going to be looking at miscellaneous, stories that I got off of websites and stuff about the things I usually talk about in these episodes. So we are going to start with the first topic, time travel, time stuff. So from a June...
Time slips or time travel?
Time travel.
Okay.
Time slips is a whole different ball of wax.
Okay.
So from the June 21st, 2023 Medium.com article called, quote, AI and Time Travel, Exploring the Possibilities and Paradoxes, the article says, quote, AI has emerged as a crucial tool in various scientific endeavors, including time travel research. Its ability to process vast amounts of data, analyze complex patterns, and simulate intricate scenarios has revolutionized the way we approach the study of temporal dynamics. By harnessing the power of AI, scientists and researchers have been able to explore the theoretical frameworks and practical applications of time travel in unprecedented ways. Which is interesting to me that AI is like increasing so fast, and I can totally see why AI would be used to help with time travel studies. Mm-hmm. Because AI can instantly analyze the different scenarios that could come out. So it's just really interesting. One of the key contributions of AI in time travel research is the creation of advanced simulations that replicate temporal environments. These simulations allow scientists to test different scenarios, evaluate the consequences of time-altering actions, and gain valuable insights into the intricacies of temporal mechanics. So let's delve into two well-known time travel paradoxes. We've talked about the first one, but we didn't really talk about the second one. These two paradoxes are the grandfather paradox and the bootstrap paradox. One of the most well-known paradoxes in time travel is the grandfather paradox, and everybody kind of knows this one. Mm-hmm. This is like...
You don't want to alter the past because you might not exist in the future?
Yeah, it postulates that if a time traveler were to go back in time and prevent their grandfather from meeting their grandmother, their own existence would be erased. Mm-hmm. This paradox highlights the inherent contradictions that arise when causality is tampered with and raises questions about the nature of time and its linearity. And this next one is fascinating. I don't think we really talked about this one on here. Another intriguing paradox is called the bootstrap paradox, also known as the ontological paradox. It occurs when an object or information is caught in a loop of infinite causality with no discernible origin. For example, imagine a time traveler taking a famous piece of art back in time and showing it to the artist, who then replicates the artwork, leading to an endless cycle of creation without an original source.
Ooh, that's
which is trippy. Yeah, that is trippy. Like you take Da Vinci, you take Mona Lisa back in time and show Da Vinci, and he's like, that's a great idea. I'm going to paint that. So where did the original idea to paint that come from? So that's weird. Yeah, that's trippy. That's
kind of icky, actually.
It is icky. But that's the bootstrap paradox, which is really interesting.
Why is it called bootstrap?
I don't know. Okay. But it's fascinating.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's also scary.
Never would have thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I went back in time and told you hey, you and Kurt should do a podcast called The Strange Sessions.
Or somebody went to Paul McCartney and played like Yesterday to him, and he's like, hey, that's a great song.
So then there's no start of that. It's just in a loop of its own, which is weird. And
then what happens to all the stuff they created afterwards? Is that somehow influenced also in a way? That's weird.
Time travel, we'll talk more about it when I'm done with this section. Also, with the ability to alter historical events, time travel raises profound ethical considerations. The power to change the course of history comes with immense responsibility. Decisions made in the past can have far-reaching consequences for the present and future. AI can play a crucial role in analyzing the ethical implications of time travel interventions, helping us navigate the delicate balance between curiosity and respect for the integrity of historical events. Preserving the integrity of the timeline is a significant challenge in time travel research. AI algorithms aid in identifying potential disruptions caused by time travel and provide strategies to mitigate their impact. The management of temporal paradoxes is a complex task that requires careful analysis and problem solving. AI would offer valuable assistance in identifying and resolving paradoxes that arise due to time travel. By analyzing the causal relationships and utilizing advanced computational methods, AI systems could help navigate the intricacies of paradoxes and minimizing their potential disruptive effects. And that's fascinating to me because AI is so freaky the way that it's evolving, and what's to say that AI itself wouldn't try some sort of time travel thing, but the
fact that AI doesn't quite always get things right too.
Yeah.
How would that go?
I don't know. But
AI would be the one to go back and alter history in a way that would mess everything up.
That would benefit AI.
If it can put a hand on my leg in a picture.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. Like I love time travel, but
the thing is AI has no moral compass.
No.
That's terrifying.
It is terrifying, but if time travel were real, and I'm not saying it is, if it were real, you would almost need an AI or a quantum computer or something to say what the effects are going to be of what you're doing. And like I said, I could go back in time to the 1970s in Manitowoc and do my best not to see anybody I know. But what's to say that I wouldn't be walking down some random street and a guy in a car passing me, looking at me, and because he's looking at me, he gets in an accident. Right. Where if I wouldn't have been there, so any you don't even have to actually do anything for you to affect the timeline.
When it could be something that happens 3 days later because he saw you. Like it's not an instant effect either.
So I just.
That's a great movie, actually, The Butterfly Effect. I feel like
it was okay.
Watch that again.
It was okay.
I haven't seen it.
I wasn't that
came out.
Fascinated by it. But this I actually posted in here this morning, or pasted into my notes this morning, because I thought this was creepy and fascinating. But is it Edward Snowden? Mm-hmm. The guy that that came out about all the...
Yeah, now he's like living somewhere else trying to... Am I thinking of the right guy?
There's like two guys. Like one of them is Snowden and the other one is...
He like uncovered a bunch of stuff he shouldn't have uncovered. Well, wasn't supposed to uncover, right?
Yeah, it was like all the NSA.
Yeah,
and like
doesn't he live somewhere for asylum or whatever? Okay.
Yeah. But he just posted on, I think, X or Twitter. I think it was Twitter or whatever it was. But he just posted within the last couple days. He wrote in a post on X. He says, quote, "They've gone full mask off. Do not ever trust OpenAI or its products, ChatGPT, etc. There is only one reason for appointing an NSA director to your board, and their new person on their board was in the NSA, and that's creepy to have somebody that was in the NSA in charge of AI." So he is warning people. He said, "This is a willful, calculated betrayal of the rights of every person on Earth. You have been warned." So that doesn't, like, I love ChatGPT. I use it for fun, and I use it to make those images that I've been using for like our picture,
slightly creepy
images. But now, like, one of the people on the board was in the NSA, which is like the tip top of the, don't trust them, don't mess with them.
Stuff, yeah.
So I just thought it's interesting that Snowden is now saying you have been warned. So that's pretty creepy. And along with time travel from Indy100.com, and this annoys me, this whole situation annoys me, Indy100.com article from February 22nd, 2023 called, quote, "Are TikTok time travelers ahead of the curve, behind the viral trend taking over the platform?" The article says, quote, "There's a growing number of people on TikTok who are trying to convince us all that time travel is a very
it's been going
real
on
thing."
For a while, right?
It has, yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, it's utter nonsense. They're all total lies, of course, but why are there so many people claiming to be from the future? Something is obviously working for them on the platform. And
they get the views.
And Jamie Love, a social media expert and CEO of Monumental Marketing, believes there's a fundamentally human explanation as to why. She says, quote, "It's the same reason people love crime stories, unsolved mysteries, or conspiracy theories. Psychologists believe that this is because of our human need for knowledge and certainty and the basic desire to have information to know the most. Secondly, humans love to feel like they have some kind of power over things that happen in the world. Believing these time travelers makes people feel like they have control and knowledge of the future, regardless of how reputable the information is or how many more reputable sources may refute the theory. Finally, believing these viral theories makes people feel like they're part of a group, and as humans, we like to feel as part of something that shares the same beliefs. Despite their popularity, the time travelers themselves are nearly always anonymous and go by coded usernames, something that Love believes is pretty crucial to the mystique of the viral accounts." She says, quote, "Knowing who is behind it would most likely lose any credibility, so keeping it anonymous allows people to fill in the gaps of the story as they see fit." Oh, it's a guy, not a girl. Jamie Love.
Sorry,
Jamie. I guess followers like the thought that this time traveler might be someone they know who's keeping this secret. The likelihood, however, of it being a bored 17-year-old is pretty high. Whoever is behind each of the accounts, they have helped to spearhead a trend online, and TikTok is a perfect place for time travelers to rise to prominence. He says, "TikTok is a great platform for this sort of content to spiral. Its algorithm is designed based on interests, not relationships. Simply put, on Facebook, you'll see only your friends' posts and activity regardless of your interest in the subject. TikTok is designed to feed your content that you're interested in."
That's interesting.
It is, yeah. For it to understand this, it will test different topics, and based on how long you watch a video, whether you like it, share it, and save it, determines your interest in that topic. You may see a funny time traveler video and engage with it, so it'll serve you more and more content gradually about time travel. If the topic is captivating enough, a trend will start and others will start tapping into it, increasing the volume of the topic. The trend is here to stay, and if the virality continues, the accounts can be monetized, with some selling ebooks or allowing brands to advertise on their accounts. And that's exactly what you said. That's
the point of it.
the point of it.
Speaking of, you should post our shorts on TikTok.
I know, I really should, and I just always forget to. So yeah, it's just, it frustrates me because people are trying to do like actual scientific studies of like time travel and if it's possible, and then you have these yahoos on TikTok like filming an empty street and saying there was an apocalypse, I'm from 2040 and there's nobody around anymore, and I came back in time to warn you. And of course you're gonna get tons of hits, and that is just so, I hate that stuff. I absolutely hate that. I even hate when YouTube video podcasts or even just regular podcasts, when they say, hey, we have a new episode coming up, it's always like, oh my God, you are not going to believe what's in this episode. You know, it's clickbait. And I hate that. And, you know, like, I don't want to do that for us. I don't want to be like, oh my God, you're not going to believe what Krista says in this episode.
No, we're going to just set the expectations pretty low.
Yeah, we're just always going to say, this episode's okay.
It's not that great.
It's not that great, to be honest.
Something's going to go wrong with the camera.
Yeah, something's going to go wrong with the camera, and Kurt's going to stumble over words. And, you know, like, I hate. People
know what they're getting with us.
I just despise clickbaity stuff.
Yeah,
but I still click on it half the time. So
yes,
but
we're
that's you know, like, just the time traveler stuff on TikTok. It just boggles my mind, I guess. It just kind of annoys me. But I'm going to end the time travel stuff with a quote. I can't talk today again.
You just said you stumble over stuff.
I know.
It's normal.
I'm going to end this section with a quote from Stephen Hawking, who says, quote, "Time travel used to be thought of as just science fiction, but Einstein's general theory of relativity... Time travel used to be thought of as just science fiction, but Einstein's general theory of relativity allows for the possibility that we could warp space-time so much that you could go off in a rocket and return before you set out. Unfortunately, it seems that the paradoxes that accompany such journeys will be difficult to resolve. So even though it may be possible to warp space-time, it appears that we can't actually get back to the past in the same universe that we left. Mm-hmm. And thoughts on time travel before I move on?
I think it's theoretically possible.
I don't.
No?
No, I don't. There's no way.
If Stephen Hawking thinks it's possible.
No, but what he is what he is saying at the end when he says it appears we can't actually get back to the past in the same universe that we left. That leads us into our next
parallel universe.
That leads us to our next topic, which is parallel universes, which I do believe in. Like time travel without parallel universes, I don't believe in because it's so easy to create a paradox. Like it makes no sense to me. You know, like
You just think because of the consequences.
Because of the fact that, I don't know, we got a weird story or two later when we do our stories about potential time travelers or stuff. Okay. But it's just like, I feel like we would know.
I'm not smart enough to say
yes or no. I feel like we would know. You know, like one person, I can't remember where I read this or wherever it was, but somebody made a festival, a time traveler festival for time travelers to come to, and nobody showed up. And it's like, so that was his proof that time travel doesn't exist. But you know, if you look at like Star Trek's Prime Directive, where you can't say, you know, like when they beam down to a planet, they can't say, "Oh, we're from a spaceship in the sky." Like they're not allowed to tell people where they're from. And if time travel was real, I'm guessing that would be one of the stipulations, like Fight Club. Yeah.
You don't talk about.
So I don't buy time travel like the John Teeter stuff. I don't buy one-way time travel in one universe. Okay. It makes no sense to me. It's just the paradoxes are just too crazy, I guess.
I can see that.
Parallel universes, though, that I can buy. So from an MSN.com article from May 2024 called, quote, "Do Parallel Universes Actually Exist?" And this gets pretty deep in this article, so settle in, clear your mind, have a drink. It says the concept of parallel universes has fascinated people for decades. It's a mind-bending idea that comes straight out of science fiction, right? But what if it's not just a plot for movies and books? What if science actually suggests that it could be real? The term multiverse is what they call this grand idea where our universe might just be one of many. Quantum mechanics introduces a world where particles exist in states of superposition, embodying multiple states simultaneously until observed. It was physicist Hugh Everett who, in 1957, presented the many worlds interpretation, or the MWI. This interpretation suggests that all possible outcomes of quantum measurements actually do occur, but in separate, non-interacting parallel universes. Rather than one single reality, MWI implies a colossal number of universes within a vast multiverse, each housing different outcomes of every event. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting to me about this, and we're going to get to this later, but I can't think of his name right off the top of my head, but he was just on Joe Rogan. Somebody posted in the Facebook group about the Joe Rogan interview with the guy talking about whether or not we're living in a simulation, which will be coming up later. And I listened to it like twice. It's like an hour and a half long. It's like the guy does a really good job of explaining this stuff. And, you know, like he talks about how like when Star Trek, the original Star Trek came out and had episodes in parallel universes, it was kind of mind blowing at the time because people didn't really know anything about that. But now it shows up all the time, like in the Marvel movies and everything. Yeah. And so it's kind of like not even really a thing anymore. Like everybody knows about it. For instance, whenever a quantum event seems to involve randomness, Everett says that the universe splits with separate branches for each possible outcome, creating a multiverse. This radical idea from theoretical physics shook traditional interpretations and continues to stir debate, but it is a formidable attempt to explain the the nature of quantum mechanics without collapsing into a single outcome. Moving from the micro to the macro, cosmology examines the universe at its largest scales and earliest moments. The Big Bang, the universe's birth, gave rise to an explosive period of expansion known as cosmic inflation. Physicist Andre Linde advanced the concept of inflationary cosmology, which supports the idea of a multiverse. During inflation, tiny quantum fluctuations could have been stretched to cosmic sizes, leading some regions to stop inflating. As this process endlessly repeats, it could create an infinite number of separate universes within the broader multiverse.
It's like so hard to wrap your head
It
around.
is. It really is.
But if you picture like a tree
Yeah,
with lots of
yeah,
branches,
yeah.
it's kind of the idea.
These universes might mirror our own or diverge wildly with different physical laws. Inflation theory thereby provides a cosmic foundation for the existence of parallel universes and adds another layer of scientific credibility to the multiverse concept. When we talk about parallel universes and multiverse theory, things get fascinating quickly. Each type proposes a different kind of reality, and believe it or not, some theories are actually very well rooted in physics. Let's explore the various levels and what they could mean for everything we understand about our existence. So, parallel universes, level 1. This one's fascinating. Like, I never considered this or thought about this. Level 1 is the observable universe and beyond. In the level 1 multiverse, it's not other universes that are different, but rather distant parts of our own universe. Beyond the 92 billion light years that makes up our observable universe, there may be regions where all possible cosmic histories occur. Think of it as an infinite expanse of space where a cosmic neighborhood is repeated countless times. And that's saying that our universe is so vast that these parallel universes are actually taking place in our universe,
actual universe,
which is crazy. Like, I never considered it like that.
Me either.
You know, like in my head, I have this idea that it's like
like a shift
to
it's
the
parallel.
side, like it's parallel. But this level 1 is saying that it actually takes place in this
physically
universe
exists
because
in
our universe is so vast that every possibility exists, which is pretty crazy. You know, like, I don't know if I like that one.
Although, I mean, our universe is infinite. It feels.
Yeah.
Like, to our knowledge, it is.
It's trippy
It's
when you
really
it's trippy when you sit
like
and think about the
mind-boggling.
universe and think about
light years,
everything.
and then you break that down
Yeah.
to what that actually means.
Yep. Yeah, like, it's crazy.
Ugh.
Like, we don't know. Is there an end to the universe?
I mean, you feel like a speck of
yeah.
dirt
Which is,
on a
that's
piece
one of
of
those things
sand.
that's like a 3 a.m.
lying in bed. Like,
lying in bed, like, I'm just a speck in the universe. You know, like,
Literally.
it's. But I'm interested in the idea that it's not parallel to us. It actually takes place in this universe, but just far away because it's so vast.
There's another Krista out there somewhere.
There's another Krista out there somewhere. Level 2 is bubble universes. The level 2 multiverse introduces the concept of bubble universes created by inflationary theory and supported by string theory. Each of these bubbles could have its own law of physics and constraints that may differ greatly from our own universe. How wild is that? That's pretty wild. So this is the one I kind of picture in my head as level 3, many worlds of quantum mechanics. Diving into quantum mechanics, the level 3 multiverse is where things get really trippy. According to the many worlds interpretation, every quantum event spawns new universes. Every choice you make, bam, another universe where you made a different choice. That's the one that I see where it's almost not in this universe, but like you said, just to the side. It's like a parallel universe. And level 4 is the ultimate ensemble and mathematical structures. Lastly, the level 4 multiverse is the most abstract concept of them all. Proposed by physicist Max Tegmark, this level considers all mathematical structure as physical realities. The universes in this level are so fundamentally different from ours that it's impossible to imagine. We're talking completely different physical laws and structures. That's trippy. Like, it's not just my decision that creates another universe. It's everything, like every atom decision, like laws, like there might not be gravity in one of these parallel universes.
That's what I was thinking. Are we floating
like
somewhere?
That's so weird to think
It
about.
is weird to think
you know,
about.
I like the idea where the universes branch off due to us, due to our decisions.
Not like how the weather was that day.
Yeah. The advancements in technology have been the cornerstone of testing scientific theories. Take, for instance, the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, which enables physicists to observe phenomena at the quantum level. And we talked a lot about that with the Mandela effect, which we'll be talking about Mandela effect in a little bit.
Today? Sweet.
Yep. So from a February 27th, 2024 LiveScience.com article, it says, quote, "Our universe is expanding at an ever-accelerating rate, a phenomenon that all theories of cosmology agree upon but none can fully explain. Now, a new theoretical..." This one is mind-boggling too. "Now, a new theoretical study offers an intriguing solution. Perhaps our universe is expanding because it keeps colliding with and absorbing baby parallel universes. Studies of the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, have revealed that our universe is experiencing accelerated expansion. For this observation to fit with the main theory of cosmic evolution, called the Standard Cosmological Model, physicists assume that the universe is filled with an enigmatic substance called dark energy that drives this expansion. But this elusive form of energy does not manifest itself in any other way, leading many astrophysicists to question its existence and explore the possibility of an alternative cause for the universe's expansion. In a new study published December 12th, 2023 in the Journal of Cosmology, that's got to be a fun read to get in the mail.
Yeah.
Sit on the toilet and read the Journal of Cosmology.
That's the second reference you've made to doing stuff while you're on the toilet.
Yeah, there's been a lot of toilet talk today. Oh, excuse me. Actually, it's the Journal of Cosmology and Astroparticle Physics.
Oh, well.
In the Journal of Cosmology and Astroparticle Physics, scientists propose the idea that the expansion of the universe may be driven instead by constantly merging with other universes. Lead study author Jan Umborn, a physicist at the Copenhagen University, told Live Science, quote, "The main finding of our work is that the accelerated expansion of our universe caused by the mysterious dark energy may have a simple intuitive explanation, the merging with so-called baby universes, and that a model for this might fit the data better than the standard cosmological model."
What's strange to me is that if this were happening, I feel like, I mean, I know we have glitch in the matrix stories. I know we have Mandela effect, which whatever, but I feel like there would be way more evidence that this is happening.
Yeah, that I 100. We're going to get into a neat idea about the Mandela effect later, but I agree with that. I'm not really a huge fan of the bubble that we're taking in other bubble universes, like smaller ones. While the idea of multiple universes interacting with ours isn't new, this study develops a mathematical model to explore the hypothetical impact of this on the evolution of our universe. The researchers' calculations showed that merging with other universes should increase the volume of our universe, which could be perceived by our instruments as an expansion of the universe. The author's theory also addresses the problem of cosmological inflation, the mysterious super rapid expansion that occurred in the early moments of the universe. Physicists have previously proposed that this expansion was caused by the inflation, a hypothetical field that drove ultra-rapid expansion in the first of milliseconds after the Big Bang. But in the new study, the authors suggest that the super-rapid early expansion could have been caused by our young universe being absorbed by a larger universe. The researchers wrote in the paper, quote, "The fact that the universe has expanded in a very short time invites the suggestion that this expansion was caused by a collision with a larger universe, that it was really our universe which was absorbed into another parent universe. The scientists suggested that after being absorbed into a new universe, our newly enlarged universe then continues to absorb baby universes and incorporate them as well. Is this where the Mandela effect happens? More on that later. But I don't know. It's trippy to think that we were absorbed by a larger universe, but then
something larger than our universe.
But then we're constantly absorbing smaller parallel universes, and that's what's causing the expansion of the universe.
Okay.
So that's trippy.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I can wrap my head around it. But
I wonder if
also
listeners
like,
even like. I wonder if listeners even like this stuff.
I think some people are probably.
I think some people probably just skip right to the stories.
Maybe.
But I'm fascinated by this stuff. But this is some of the stuff that I can't think about too long, because then it starts to trip me out. It's like, I'm not a huge fan of the bubble, the bubble universe theory but it could explain Mandela effects, possibly.
I could see that. How much? This is terrible.
Oh, you're worried about the camera?
Like 2 hours.
Yeah, we're good.
I just don't want it to cut out like it did last.
Next topic that I love that actually has gotten kind of popular on TikTok is that we've talked about this, is quantum immortality. From an MSN.com article from April 2024 called, quote, "Our moral obligations for parallel universes are unclear," says expert Paul Sutter. The article says, quote, "Let's say you flip a coin and it comes up heads. There were innumerable quantum interactions that led to that result, and the result really was random. It just as easily could have come up tails. According to some interpretations of quantum mechanics, our universe contains you plus a heads-up coin, and there is another branch of the universe that now contains you and a tails-up coin. There are now 2 copies of you living independent lives in their own quantum realities. If you repeat this thought experiment, you quickly realize that there are an almost infinite number of yous copied throughout the multiverse. Instead of innocent coins, let's take a more gruesome example and attach a deadly poison to the coin flip. When you flip the coin, there are now 2 copies of you, but one universe contains a living you and the other universe contains a dead you. But since you'll only ever experience living, the only you with any awareness is the living one. From your perspective, you survive the deadly coin flip.
Because I was just going to say, what determines which you I have
I don't know.
Like,
I always wonder about that too. But it's like, say I was in an accident and couldn't make it here today. Is that universe just as real to the me that's there?
Right.
Which is so trippy
yeah, that's
to
really
think
weird
about.
to think about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm only aware of this one.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And that one could be just as real, you know? I don't know. It's weird.
It is weird.
Some physicists and philosophers have taken this line of thinking to extreme lengths, arguing for a sort of quantum immortality. As long as there is a chance, however slim, that you survive any interaction, you will keep living, your thread of conscious awareness unbroken. This includes the slim chance that humanity discovers how to stop aging, allowing you to live forever, and includes every possibility where you don't get sick, don't get cancer, don't get in an accident, and so on. So one of you is always living on some branch of the multiverse and is, in essence, immortal. So that's weird. Like this, I could go home and watch TV tonight, and they announced tonight that they figured out a way to make people live forever, which is a possibility. So that universe does exist.
Yeah.
So in that universe, I never die. Like, I could die right now.
Is that universe overpopulated to the nth degree? Though?
Probably.
Nobody dies.
Probably. But I mean, I could die right
Murder
now.
wouldn't
I could
stop
die.
happening. But...
I could die right now, right here. But then in other parallel universes, I'm living. It's just that you are in the one where I died. Mm-hmm. So it's weird stuff to think about. But I see a lot of TikTok stuff lately about quantum immortality because it blows people's mind that there is one copy of you that is eternal. Forever. That is eternal, you know.
Or in some way, shape, or form, even if it's jumping from universe to universe, in some form you go on
in some
forever.
Form you go on forever. In this one, I might not, but in some universe, I am always alive, which is weird to think about. Now we get to my favorite, simulation theory. The guy's name was Rizwan Virk, and he was on the Joe Rogan show. That I wish I could remember who posted it in the Strangers, but I listened to it. Like I said, I've listened to it twice. I listened to it driving down here today. He does a really good job of explaining, like Joe Rogan doesn't kind of get it, but
he's Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he does a good.
I'm not gonna diss him though. I've watched his show too. I actually watched the Rob Zombie episode. It was really good interview.
I watched him when he was on Fear Factor when I used to watch Fear Factor.
I think he's a pretty good interviewer. He asks really good questions, and I think he's really
curious. He's interested in what people are talking about,
and really gives his guests space to talk.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yep. But if you're into the simulation theory at all, listen to the podcast of Joe Rogan's with Rizwan Virk. So this comes
quite the name.
This comes from a Daily Express article from June 2nd, 2024 called, quote, "Are we living in a simulation? Eerie similarities between ancient texts and video games." So the article says, quote, "When it comes to philosophical musings and technological speculation, one idea reigns supreme in its audacity. The notion that our reality, this very existence, is nothing more than an elaborate simulation. Dismissed by most as science fiction, the simulation hypothesis is gaining traction among credible voices, not least among them is Rizwan Virk, founder of Play Labs at MIT. Turning to the crux of Virk's thesis, the simulation hypothesis, his belief in this theory is rooted in 3 main pillars: the exponential growth of video game and AI technology, the enigmatic nature of quantum physics, and insights from world's religions. At the heart of this hypothesis is the idea that the physical world, as we perceive it, does not exist in the traditional sense. Instead, what we experience as matter is merely information."
I don't like it.
I do. Virk's journey into the simulation hypothesis began after he sold his video game company in 2016 and started playing a VR ping pong game. The game's physics were so realistic that he momentarily forgot that he was in a virtual environment, leading him to ponder how close we are to creating indistinguishable virtual worlds. He believes that we are approximately 70% of the way to achieving what he calls the simulation point, where virtual realities become as convincing as our own reality. If humanity can reach this simulation point, it stands to reason that either us in the future or more advanced civilizations could have already done so, creating countless simulations. Verk argues that it's more likely we are living in one of these simulations than we are actually living in base reality. This line of reasoning, initially proposed by philosopher Nick Bostrom in 2003, suggests that the odds of us being in the base reality are considerably higher than many might imagine. Bostrom not base reality, they actually made a mistake there. Being in a false reality are considerably higher than many might imagine. Bostrom estimates a 33% chance, while Verk places it at 70%, bolstered by recent advancements in AI, VR, and quantum mechanics. Quantum physics...
Well, they're saying that we could create that, not that there's a 70% chance we are living in it.
I thought he said on the podcast he believes it's a 70% chance that we are living in a simulated universe.
Oh, because I thought that said he thought it was possible that we could create that.
I think Bostrom, when he started this whole thing, thought that there was a 33% chance that we were living in
it.
Yeah,
already.
I could be wrong. Maybe they did mean the base reality. But Verk places it at 70%, bolstered by recent advancements in AI, VR, and quantum mechanics.
But that's recent advancements.
Yeah.
That speaks to that we're not actually in it yet.
No, but he believes that we very well could be, because us in the future, it's advancing so fast that 200 years from now, imagine what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then in 200 years from now
we're
the
doing
real
time
reality,
travel.
no, it's not time travel, but in 200 years from now, the real reality is running simulations on the past, and that's what we are. We are like Sims in that simulation. That's what we are. Quantum physics, with its bizarre phenomena, further supports the simulation hypothesis. The principle that particles exist in multiple states until they are observed parallels how video games only render environments seen by the player. This concept, known as the observer effect, implies that our reality might operate on the same principle, rendering only what is necessary for our experience. And we've talked about this in the previous episodes, that it's like when I'm playing the game Witcher 3. Like, I'm running through the woods and looking ahead, the woods that are way ahead of me haven't generated yet. And that's why this is saying that whatever's on the other side of this wall across from us right now isn't even there until one of us goes and looks behind, and then it pops in.
Yuck.
You know, not a fan of that.
I think video games are a great representation of what the theory is.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's like a perfect. I get into that a little bit here coming up too. Furthermore, various religious texts describe our world as a temporary illusion, a mere shadow of a more profound reality. Verk draws parallels between these ancient metaphors and modern simulation theory. For instance, descriptions in the Bhagavad Gita and the teachings of Rumi about life and death being akin to changing clothes echoes the idea of avatars in a virtual world. Much like the Bible's account of creation through divine speech mirrors the commands a programmer might use to build a virtual world. So there's simulation theory. It's a fun one. Like, I buy that we could be in a simulation. You know, and like Joe Rogan asked Rizwan, like, how do you stay happy and seem happy believing that we live in a simulation? And he said, basically, it's as real to me as anything else, you know, because you touch stuff and it has mass and you can touch it. But he says, like, when you look at this through an electron microscope, this table is mostly empty space as it is, you know. And he says, believing that we live in a simulation doesn't make it any more or less real to us experiencing it. But there's a lot of good ideas about us.
It just makes you more ask why, though.
Because they're running a simulation, because some future people are running a simulation, and
so
that's what we are.
There's an actual reality.
There is that's base reality, and we are a simulated reality. You know, we are like characters.
So we're an experiment.
We're an experiment, basically. That's what we are as an experiment. We're like an ant farm, like The Sims. We're like the Sims.
We feel like we control our world, but we don't.
You know, and then that gets into the whole idea of last Thursdayism, which was originally started as like a joke topic, but a lot of people like buy into the idea of what's called last Thursdayism, where the theory behind that is you and I, all this popped into existence last Thursday. And we only believe in the past because that was what programmed into our memory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, our entire memory is just information that was programmed into us
Sure.
that we actually, like, we could have just popped into existence right now, but we believe we've always existed because that's what we were programmed to think, which is crazy stuff.
So I'm only a day old.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's crazy stuff, but I feel like simulation theory explains so much. You know, I think it really does. I think it was Rizwan that brought this up on the podcast, or I read this somewhere else, but I'm fascinated by this idea. And this idea, the theory is that time all happened at once. Everything happened at once. We just experience it as time because that's how we have to experience it. But everything happened at once. And that's how some people know the future, because they're able to tap into that. But he brought up the fact that if this is true...
I would need to unpack that a little more to understand.
But he brought up the fact that if this is true, we experience it as we do, but because everything happened at once, there's like bleed overs. And he said that people that believe in this believe that aliens are actually us in the future, and Bigfoot is actually Neanderthal man, us in the past, and which would explain why they're only around for a little while, because it's just like a temporary bleed over from this time.
Where do ghosts fit in?
Ghosts are just from the years around us that just temporarily come in. But
I do like the idea of parallel universes, and that's what explains ghosts.
Yeah, and we'll get.
They are people who exist in a parallel universe. It's bleeding over into our universe.
Yep. And the time thing is kind of like a parallel universe thing, but it's just that everything happened at once, so everything is just...
That's hard for me to wrap my
head
around.
It is hard to wrap, but there's people that believe that that's what happened.
I only know time that happens over time.
But everything that ever happened or is going to happen, all happened. And it's just we experience it like this because that's how we have to do it. We'll get a little more into some trippy stuff like this now pretty soon here. I'm actually almost done with the entire first section, you know? So cool. Next, everybody's favorite. Wait. Am I done? Oh, we're still on Rizwan.
Sorry, Rizwan.
Nope, we're done with
His
Rizwan.
nickname is
We're jumping
Riz.
into the next topic, which is Mandela effects.
Everybody loves the Mandela effects.
Because
we all have experienced it in some way, shape, or form.
Oh yeah.
Jiffy peanut butter people. Berenstein Bears people.
Now we're going to talk about one of the biggies. But one of the new ones that people are all up in arms about is the Taco Bell one, where somebody posted, I don't know if it was on TikTok or Reddit, but somebody said, I know most of us will remember these at Taco Bell. And they had a picture, and it's one of those things that looks like a big water barrel. And you drop it's filled with water, but it's got like platforms, and you drop a coin in, and you have to get the coin to land on one of the platforms. But because there's water in it, the coin wobbles when it goes down to the bottom. Like you win a free taco.
Played a game like that.
You win a free taco if it lands on a platform. But because there's water in there, it's really hard because it'll wiggle and
they had that at Taco Bell.
That's what I know. Most of us will remember these from Taco Bell. The Taco Bell's local to me had them up until about 10 years ago. And I found it always strange. And I said at the time, well, that's dumb. They don't even have water in them anymore. So the new ones don't have water. But this person said, I clearly remember they used to hold water. Nobody I've ever discussed this with recalls the water, but I'm 100% certain they did used to be full of water. And that's what all these people jumped out and said, Taco Bell used to have these things filled with water, and you drop a coin in and try to get it to land on the platform, and I've seen them and I've played them, but I don't know if it was at a Taco Bell. Like I never go into Taco Bell.
I remember having one as a kid where you could press a button and it would.
Oh yeah, every now and then I see one of those at the antique stores where you have to get like the ring on the.
Yes.
But no, this was like a water jug that you buy big things of water in, and then you drop the coin in, and there were like raised platforms all spiraling up, and you had to get a coin to land on it.
I'm not somebody who went into Taco Bell.
No, I don't know if I've
ever
ever gone into a Taco Bell. But if you have kids and you go there, but a lot of people swear to God that Taco Bell used to have these things that you would drop a coin in and had water in it. But I can't speak to it either. But that's like the big one right now.
But I believe people when they say that they remember something that doesn't exist.
Yep. And
I've been there.
This story people told us we needed to address this on the show, and I agreed. So now we're talking about it. MSN.com article from December 11th, 2023 called, quote, "Did the Fruit of the Loom logo have a cornucopia?"
It's like your favorite.
I know. TikToker finds definitive proof. So the article says, quote,
maybe.
Yeah, I'm not buying this.
Anything can be photoshopped.
The Fruit of the Loom Mandela effect is really messing with people's memories of the clothing company's iconic logo. This is one that everybody almost
I don't remember the...
I had underwear. I had underwear, and that's how I knew what a cornucopia was.
I mean, if you told me it was there, I'd be like, sure.
So many Reddit people are like, this is how I knew what a cornucopia was. This is the only way that I knew what a cornucopia was.
Yeah, and oddly enough, this is not one of mine because I have no memory either way.
No.
Honestly.
A viral TikTok has thousands of people not only thinking about what they remember the logo to look like, but also as many searching for proof that we're not all losing our minds. Mm-hmm. Nicole, who goes by the name Dime Lifting on the app TikTok, has recently fallen down the rabbit hole on the Fruit of the Loom Mandela effect, and she's taking us all along for the ride. She says, quote, "I got to the bottom of the Fruit of the Loom cornucopia Mandela effect, and I'm upset. Claire," I don't know who Claire is, somebody with another TikTok. "Claire really pulled through for us and went through all of her old clothes until she found an official logo." So not only did someone named Claire find a shirt with the official logo on it, but the cornucopia looks exactly how so many remember it to look. She says, "This reignited my fixation, and after digging through the internet, I found this old newspaper article that specifically says, quote, Fruit of the Loom logo was initially a cornucopia. When Fruit of the Loom has been questioned about the cornucopia, they've straight up been lying to us, saying that it never existed." Nicole said she feels that the company is lying to everyone and is intentionally causing chaos.
Why?
She pointed out that if you go to their homepage, they have a timeline of their logos throughout the years, starting with the logo from 1927 and ending with their current logo. She says, quote, "If that's not evidence enough that they're intentionally trying to cause chaos, these are what their TikToks look like," she said just before showing a clip of one of their TikTok videos of a cornucopia with a face and the caption saying, quote, "Trying to think of a good reason for me to be in this logo." She says, quote, "I'm convinced this is 100% corporate gaslighting."
But why?
And while Nicole is bothered by this Mandela effect, she says it's one of the greatest marketing ploys in history, but at what cost? A few viewers shared their thoughts on the Mandela effect as a whole, saying, quote, "Mandela effects are government experiments to see how much they can gaslight the public, and you can't convince me otherwise." Somebody else said, quote, "I decided like 2 years ago that most Mandela effects are to do with just marketing schemes, which
a lot of them do evolve around consumer products.
Yes, they do. Yep. Nicole wasn't quite satisfied after her first video, so she created a follow-up video that shares more information about the use of the cornucopia in the Fruit of the Loom logo. She says, quote, "I officially have government documentation that Fruit of the Loom is lying about never being associated with the cornucopia. We should first start off with this Frank West album, Flute of the Loom, which was made in the late 1970s and was a clear spin-off of Fruit of the Loom." I don't know how that is evidence, because this guy could be remembering that it had a cornucopia. Mm-hmm. She also credited a Redditor for falling so far down the rabbit hole that he reached out to the son of the artist who created the art for the album cover. The son responded, making it clear that Flute of the Loom was in fact inspired by Fruit of the Loom, and the cornucopia was part of their logo. She says, quote, "The part I'm most excited about is this is an official government document for the Fruit of the Loom trademark. And if you look at the bottom, it says baskets of fruit, containers of fruit, cornucopia, horn of plenty." And I've seen the copyright document, and it does say cornucopia. One person wrote in the comments section, "I'm questioning all Mandela effects. It's incredible. We've been gaslit with government proof." So that's just what...
I mean, people have found the Berenstain Bears, like an old video or something that had the label that said Berenstein Bears on it.
Yeah, but it's, like this cornucopia
Allegedly.
thing, like I don't think it's corporate gaslighting. I don't think Fruit of the Loom is lying to everybody, because there would be some proof. Somebody would have some shirt, some ratty old T-shirt.
Didn't she say someone had a shirt?
Someone did find one, but you think more people would find ones. And the fact that the trademark
in thrift stores,
document says cornucopia, horn of plenty, maybe they were thinking about doing that and they decided not to, and that's like a weird parallel universe thing. Like, I do not think the Fruit of the Loom company is lying about
It's a weird marketing ploy.
That's a really weird marketing ploy.
Is it making people buy their products?
Probably not, but it's getting people to look at their logo, which is increasing brand recognition, I guess. But I just don't.
Who didn't know who the Fruit of the Loom company was before that, though?
No, but I do remember having underwear and T-shirts in the 70s, and I remember the stupid cornucopia. I picture it in my head when I think about, it was there. And I think that if it was there would be so many vintage T-shirts and stuff from the 70s that there would be way more cornucopia Fruit of the Looms, and there's just not. So I do not think that it's corporate gaslighting. I just don't. I think that maybe the copy, the trademark document, and it's an official document. You can look at it. You can look at it online. It does say cornucopia, horn of plenty, and maybe they were thinking about doing that and they didn't, and that was some weird, some weird parallel universe thing, But I'm just not buying that. Everything is gaslighting these days, and that stupid term drives me crazy too. Hate it. I get so annoyed lately.
I see that.
Well, I was a little tangent here. Like a couple months ago, I'm watching news or whatever, and I'm like, who the hell is Sydney Sweeney? And why are people like shoving her down my throat all of a sudden?
I know the name, but
she's an actress.
Okay.
And I was super annoyed by her. I'm like, ugh, who is this person? And then it came out that some talent agent in Los Angeles was doing an interview and said that Sydney Sweeney is neither attractive nor can act. And I got super mad about that. I'm like, no, she is attractive.
She have blonde hair.
Yeah.
I think I just watched something with her in it. She's really pretty.
She's like super pretty. And a lot of people say she's not.
I get it.
We're not going to get into it, but people are crazy about her because of her body or whatever. And I'm like, whatever. But it's just like, I get so annoyed at that stuff that I don't even know why I went on that tangent. Anyway, never mind. Sydney Sweeney, love you. Just because I think about getting annoyed.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's just like everybody saying that, like, this is gaslighting, like corporate gaslighting. Like, people are just so quick to say something like that. I guess it just annoys me. Just annoys me. Anyway, now that I'm all worked up for no reason whatsoever, we're going to get to... is this the really good? Oh, no, we're going to get the last one. It kind of ties so much of this together. But here is another article. This one is from the iflscience.com website from a July 1st, 2022 article called, quote, "Study finds that the Mandela effect is real and incredibly difficult to explain." I thought this was interesting. A team of psychologists from the University of Chicago, intrigued by the idea, decided to put some actual scientific testing into it. As well as testing to whether there really was an effect, they aimed to discover why visual Mandela effects, or VMEs, occurred. The results were actually kind of maddening. In their first experiment, currently available as a preprint ahead of publication in the journal Psychological Science, participants were asked to look at images of a logo, character, or mascot, including popular examples of the... Hang on here. Including popular examples of the Mandela effect and others that had been added as controls, as well as the original real version of the image. They included several other versions with mistakes on them made to fit in with the original design as much as possible. This included popular misremembered versions. The participants were asked to select the image they believed to be the original, as well as rate how confident they were that it was correct, and estimate the number of times they have seen it. The image was only considered to be a potential VME, or visual Mandela effect, if it was consistently misremembered. People were confident about their choice, and the same wrong image was consistently selected. Interestingly, in the questions which used examples of the Mandela effect popularly cited on the internet, the popularly misremembered image was selected a significantly higher proportion of times than the original, which is weird because you would think it would be... I mean, that's showing that there is some reason or there's some trend to people.
Are these people that have heard of the Mandela effect?
I don't know. I'm guessing that they've vetted out. I'm guessing they vetted out people that that were into the Mandela effect and knew all the examples and stuff. The article goes on to say, quote, "These results indicate that these 7 images, C-3PO, Curious George, the Fruit of the Loom logo, the Monopoly Man, Pikachu, the Volkswagen logo, and Waldo from Where's Waldo, had not only accuracies below chance, but also specific incorrect versions that were falsely recognized as the original, the team writes in their paper. Thus, these 7 images were indeed labeled as VME apparent. Furthermore, their accuracy is surprisingly low given the reported familiarity and confidence people had with these images. So far, so weird. Next, the team showed the participants the correct images and asked them to study them without explaining they would be asked to recall information about the image they saw. When they were subsequently asked to select between the correct version and a manipulated version, the VME images were still consistently chosen over the correct version they had just studied. That's weird to me.
It is weird.
The low accuracy for the VME image set is remarkable given that participants had just seen the correct image minutes prior to the study phase, yet still chose the false version to indicate their memory. When asked about their choice, those who had selected the correct image said things along the line of, quote, they only saw the fruit, not the cornucopia, while people who selected the VME image also claimed they remembered seeing the manipulation a few minutes ago, even though they had not. In fact, incorrect responses to VME apparent images were more often attributed to memory of the manipulated feature than those to match non-VME images, which instead tended to be more guess-based. From this part of the experiment, they concluded that a popular source image, for example, if there was a popular image of Pikachu with a black tip added to the tail, which it does not usually have, but people have taken as canonical, was not the explanation for the visual Mandela effect, as it is unlikely that the non-canonical version from prior experience is overriding their recent experience of the canonical image. This is kind of tough to figure out, but one idea that might explain why people are making the same mistakes is called the schema theory, which suggests that people fill in missing information with information based on our expectations and associations, such as the fact that they can't really remember what the Monopoly man looks like, but know he's supposed to be rich, and they put a monocle on him because that's a symbol of being rich.
Yeah.
However, this theory falls down with many of the VMEs. In one experiment, the participants were asked to select the correct Fruit of the Loom logo from the VME version, the correct version, and one with a manipulation. They could have picked the correct Fruit of the Loom logo, the Fruit of the Loom logo with a cornucopia, or the Fruit of the Loom logo that had a plate underneath the fruit. The fact that they chose the cornucopia consistently over the plate when plates are more frequently associated with fruit is evidence against the idea that it's just the schema theory explaining it. Because you would think that logically you would go with the plate. Like, why would a cornucopia be there?
Because to me, my thought is that a cornucopia always holds fruit. Have you ever seen a cornucopia without anything in it?
I don't think so. The only cornucopia I ever picture is the Fruit of the Loom logo. You know,
I see it in like old timey Thanksgiving.
Maybe like in thrift stores, maybe, but in thrift stores it even has like plastic fruit in it. So I guess,
or just pictures or paintings or greeting cards, whatever.
Yeah, I can see that. Disappointingly, or maybe just intriguingly, the team found no real explanation for the consistent mistakes. In another experiment, participants were asked to draw the logos and characters and still reproduce Curious George with a tail, Pikachu with a black tip tail, and the Fruit of the Loom logo with a cornucopia. Evidence suggests that some people may be making consistent memory errors even with extensive visual experience with the icon and without having experienced the variants before, they write in their paper. In sum, we revealed a set of images that causes consistent and shared false memories across people, spurring new questions on the nature of false memories. We've shown that the VME cannot be universally explained by any single account. So that, like, they went in there thinking that they were going to, like, just prove that this was nothing, but they turn out being like, no, this actually,
there's something to it.
We can't explain this. We can't explain why these people were consistently picking the wrong choice. You know, so I think that's fascinating. Like, the Mandela effect is so weird to me. And this is trippy. This one I like. This is from a Reddit user. The Reddit user writes, quote, everyone who believes in the Mandela effect has their own theory on why it exists. I've seen many point to the Large Hadron Collider, while others dismiss the effect entirely as mass false memories. I would like to posit that the Mandela effect is actually a natural phenomenon. I believe the true reason the Mandela effect occurs is because of the fractal nature of space-time. To help paint a better picture of what this truly means, let's examine space-time as it is presented in string theory. Imagine that all the possible timelines for all pieces of matter were stretched out in strings across 3D space. The start of time would be very small, and every frame in which the universe updates would propagate the strings of time further into space. Because of the quantum nature of observation and decision-making, every time there are two possible outcomes in a timeline, the timeline must be split into two timelines, which is parallel universe. We've talked about this. This results in the overall spatial structure of each timeline to present itself as a fractal tree, one node which splits into two nodes with every node further dividing infinitely. Except, what if space wasn't infinite? Fractals are still trying to be fully understood by mathematicians around the globe. One of the most frustrating things to wrap your head around is the fact that while the area of a fractal is finite, thank you, the perimeter is supposedly infinite. This is because mathematics can subdivide infinitely, so there's never reason to assume we've hit the limit of subdivision. But space is not a theory. Space is real. Energy must have a smallest quantum state it can exist in, and anything smaller than that must not be able to exist. Because of this, every fractal found in nature must necessarily end. The smallest subdivisions of the space-time fractal are what I believe to be the Mandela effect. Picture the very edges of two timelines existing together within a finite space. They have both reached the absolute smallest subdivision on each of their fractal trees, and now both of them want to move further into space. Because there is no more physical room for both timelines to subdivide again, only one timeline can move forward. However, instead of one timeline or the other, I believe that the timelines merge. In order for the timelines to be that close to each other anyway, they must have extremely similar sets of data compiling that universe, and the merging timeline picks the most mundane difference between the two timelines and removes that difference. So people often ask why Mandela effects are so mundane, but I believe they have to be in order for a smooth transition between universes.
That's a very
that is trippy.
Theory.
Yeah, like the parallel universe.
That's a smart person.
That is a smart person, but it makes sense that these two parallel universes are trying to branch off again, and they can't. There's only enough room for one, so they have to merge. So because they're so close together, there's already not a lot of differences between the two. But whatever is going, whatever is going, okay, let's get rid of Jiffy peanut butter.
Right.
And then that timeline is now just one time.
Still have the memory of it.
Yeah. So that's trippy.
Yeah.
That
makes
one
sense,
timeline
though.
is going forward now again, but there's people that remember there being a Jiffy peanut butter, even though there isn't technically.
Yeah.
And somewhere down the road, this one will get to that point where it has to collapse again into one timeline, and something else, like the guy, like Jaws not having, or the girl not having braces on her teeth in the movie Moonraker. And people commented on this and said there's probably millions of these little differences that we don't notice because they're so
minute. Yeah.
Like I said, I always think of the show Sliders, where the guy, the main character, ended up bouncing to parallel universes and he wanted to badly get back to his home universe. And in one episode, he gets to a place and it's exactly perfect. But when he goes to walk into his house, the gate that has always squeaked doesn't squeak. So so he knows that he's not in his universe.
Yeah.
So people were kind of blown away by this, thinking there's probably so many. This tree that I drive past in the forest on the way here probably doesn't have a leaf where it used to, and that was one of the differences, So it's trippy to think about that. So any thoughts about all that?
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's hard to wrap your head around. I could listen to it all day, though.
I know. I
find it really interesting.
I'm fascinated by this stuff. But part of it is because I don't want reality to just be what it is, because that's so humdrum and boring. I want there to be parallel universes. And it's just like the simulation theory is crazy, but it accounts for a lot of stuff. And this is the last on this. After this, we're going to get to the stories, but this is the last on this. And this is pretty deep, but this kind of ties a lot of this together. So pay attention here, because like I said, this one gets a little bit deep. From a Medium.com article from April 2nd, 2019 called, quote, "The Theory of Self-Rendering Reality and the Mandela Effect," the article says, quote, As long as man has existed, there's always been a bunch of questions that he has sought to answer. One of the most debated ones is, what is reality? Throughout history, we've been haunted and plagued by the need to know the gears and nitty-gritties behind our own existence and what we perceive to be real. One might argue that man's quest to find that which is greater than himself has and will always continue to be an endless one. As you cruise around reading through all opinions, two of the most famous theories that have sprung in this regard are simulation theory and interface theory. So simulation theory, we talked about. Simulation theory states that everything, including the Earth and the whole universe, is a computer simulation being carried out by some far technologically advanced civilization. In layman's terms, we are just like the characters in the video game The Sims. If you were to think about this, it kind of makes sense that a group of beings can develop technology to the point where they have enough computing power and capability to carry out this kind of large-scale simulation. Furthermore, looking at the previous milestones in AI, development of self-conscious systems, although a bit far off in the future, is no longer residing in the impossible stack. Various people have agreed that there is a 50-50 chance that we are living in a simulation. And now the interface theory, which I had never heard of before this.
I haven't heard of this.
Interface theory. You know how icons appear on the desktop of your computer? For the non-technical people, here's what happens. You right-click on your desktop and simply create a folder. On the back end, though, there really is no folder. In the simplest terms, the operating system interacts with the hard disk and allocates memory blocks. When you create a folder, a special list is created which contains a list of other memory locations where information is stored as files. The front-end view from the desktop is just a user-friendly depiction of the way things are at the back end. It sort of gives the correct picture, but it's not the real deal. The interface theory proposes that our reality works the same way as a computer desktop. What we visually see isn't the correct status of things, but a bunch of useful icons which represent relevant information about the actual world. And this comes from Reddit, somebody describing this. It's the idea that reality as we know it isn't actually as it is. The analogy is that reality can be thought of as the hardware that runs a computer, the transistor, logic gates, etc., and our perception of reality is just a graphical user interface or the pretty desktop on the screen. Imagine trying to use a computer by modulating what electrical currents are on or off or which gates are open. It would be incomprehensible. This is why we create a simplified version that allows us to accomplish tasks without having to individually control these things ourselves. The user interface is like the icons on your computer screen that allows you to accomplish tasks such as opening a folder or starting an app. These icons are instantiated in the hardware, but they aren't literally there in the same way that you experience them when you use them. They exist as operations that exist to let us do what would be manually difficult. So relating this back to reality, the objects you see in reality, such as the moon, the trees, or the sky, are just like the icons on the computer screen. They don't actually exist in the same sense that we perceive them to exist. They just exist in a way for us to interface with reality because, again, we couldn't actually interface with reality directly because of how incomprehensible it would be. So that's kind of crazy.
Okay.
Let me start by saying that there are many criticisms to these and other such kinds of theories, and some of them raise some really good points. For the benefit of my argument and out of sheer laziness, I shan't go into them. Shan't. To illustrate the kind of conspiracy of existence that we are about to, we have to make some assumptions, and trust me when I say I'm too lazy to write and argue them out, so I'm just going to drop them like bombs. First, let's assume that reality is a computer simulation being run by a bunch of whatevers with mad computing power. Now, have you ever played an old video game? You notice that some parts of your environment render as you play. At any given moment, only the part of the map you're playing is ever fully rendered. This can be a method of saving up on resources, especially when the game has a huge map. Why render the whole thing when the player isn't really playing that part of the map? If we are in a simulation, that means whoever have us running on some futuristic server, it would make sense for them to save on computing power and rendering on the go as we are in the area that's being rendered. I bet you have heard the argument that reality is only real under observation. This would be the classic case of this point, where the only real part of reality would be the part under observation, which would be the only part that has been completely rendered. By the sheer fact that we have hopped on this simulation train, we're admitting that our reality is being rendered, and thus the interface theory would come into play. We are living on the desktop side of reality, the surfaces we walk on, gravity, colors, etc. These are just user-friendly depictions in preset global environment variables to allow us to easily interact with our world. So we're all just a bunch of line of codes in a dude's computer. What does that have to do with the Mandela effect? The Mandela effect is based on the false memories phenomenon. A false memory is a phenomenon where an individual recalls something that either did not take place or recalls something that took place but in a completely different way. Some people claim to remember Mandela dying at a different time than the rest of the world remembers, or other people remember some famous books having different titles than they actually do now. Well, I have to say that I think most sightings of the Mandela effect are absolute bollocks, and most false memories can be attributed to the psychological state of mind. I will, however, implore you to bear with me with this stupid idea for a while.
So this person is from the UK?
Yeah. Just like any other object in a computer, I would assume that our memories are stored in an addressable block where we can call a method of some sorts to retrieve the memories at any time during the simulation. Now, to treat the civilized society that has simulated us as any other civilized society, it goes without saying that the simulation would have bugs, bad design, and the like. As far as we know, perfect systems do not exist. Now, keeping in mind the theory of multiple universes, we can assume that I, as Patrick, have been used in multiple simulations, which I would consider different timelines of my existence. So he's saying that he's running in several different programs. If these multiple universes were being run in the same servers or shared resources, it's completely possible for me in Universe A to access memory from a memory address that has nothing to do with Universe A if there were bad design issues or computer memory leaks. If a certain class of objects, such as people, happen to access such memories, their recollection of events would be totally different from the rest of that population. This would be a classic example of a Mandela effect. Let's say that my favorite chocolate bar from Universe A was called Sugar Rush, and the same bar had a different name in Universe B, Magic Bar. If by some bad design I was able to access the memory address of Universe B from Universe A, I'd have completely different memories from everyone else in Universe A. Mm-hmm. Assuming we are in a simulation, we would be correct by saying that any part of our reality would not render unless under observation by a conscious being. Hence, all unrendered parts of our reality, although actually existing in the back end, would be unreal. This means that any part of our world where there isn't a single person there to observe it does not exist. Being in a simulation, our version of reality would be an interface designed to offer the simulates, or the people inside of it, a user-friendly way to interact with the environment. Existing in a simulated multiverse that is sharing computing resources like memory can have space for memory leaks and badly designed access permissions, and rules can end up having several people access some data that's not meant for their universe. This would result in these people having different recollections from the rest of the population, hence the Mandela effect. Therefore, if we assume simulation theory is real, interface theory and the Mandela effect don't sound so stupid after all.
So would you consider someone who has legitimate psychic abilities like a hacker?
Yeah. Basically, that's what people believe about Leonardo da Vinci, because he was so knowledgeable about stuff that they were actually able to hack the system and know stuff that they weren't supposed to know. Not intentionally hack, but through some error, they were able to access other computer blocks, other computer universes. So this is trippy stuff. Like I said, like I get it though. I mean, it explains the Mandela effect that if we are a computer simulation and there's several other simulations running, that's what deja vu can be. Like you can believe that the you in the nearby memory block is doing the same thing, and you sense that. So I
also think parallel universes can explain all of that too.
Oh yeah. But simulation theory makes sense to me, because at some point, with as much as computing knowledge and AI has increased in the last 50 years, from basically nothing to what it is now, imagine what it's going to be 200 years from now. Mm-hmm. And you can't tell me that 200 years from now, we're not going to be able to run completely lifelike simulations. And we will run those simulations, whether it's a computer game or whether it's us testing something.
We don't completely wipe ourselves out.
No. And I don't remember if it was Rizwan or somebody else, but they said AI gets so good that, like right now, I am the only person I know that truly exists because I'm in my head. It said you could be created by AI in this simulation. You might not even exist. You could be AI. That's just 100% lifelike, but you're still AI. Like I'm the only one that I know truly exists because I'm aware, you know? But then other people said that I'm programmed to believe that I exist. So it's just, it's one thing after another, but I don't know. But people are like seriously looking into this stuff, which is fascinating. Like quantum mechanics to me is fascinating. Like, I don't know if we ever talked a lot about the double slit experiment, but it's really interesting that that situation shows that something behaves differently when it's being observed by somebody than when it's not being observed by somebody. And it's just like parallel universes could explain ghosts, the Mandela effect, simulation theory could. So what do you think of all that?
It's a lot.
It is a lot, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
What time are we looking at?
We're at an hour 40 already.
Holy cow. We got to get cruising then.
Yeah, we do.
Holy
I don't know how
buckets.
many of these stories we have, but we better
We're going to wrap this up soon-ish. Wow. I wonder if I should even cut some of those out so we can have more, but that's going to cut off anyway. So let's jump into the stories.
Yeah, let's do it.
Jumping into the stories. I'm going to read 2, and then Krista's going to read 2.
Okay.
My first 2, this first one is perfect. I love this one. Somebody on Reddit writes, me and my friend were at a Chinese restaurant, and I never know how to pronounce this.
So are these Glitch in the Matrix type stories? Okay.
Yes. My friend and I were at a Chinese restaurant, and we ordered a General Tso's chicken dinner and a shrimp lo mein dish. When we sat down at the table, we took out both boxes, set them on the table about 2 feet apart. My friend opened the first box, and we see the shrimp lo mein dish. It has all the things in there: noodles, shrimp, fried rice. He closes the box, then opens the other box. Inside that box is another shrimp lo mein dish: shrimp, noodles, fried rice. Oh, I think they must have mixed up the order. I was just about to say this when my friend says out loud, looks like they made a mistake. He then opens up the first box again. Now inside of it is a General Tso's chicken dinner order. General Tso's chicken, white rice, and an egg roll. He froze and looked at me. I looked back at him, and we sat in silence. It took us about 5 minutes or so to collect ourselves. I have no idea what the heck happened.
Just screwed up the boxes?
It's possible, but they swear they didn't.
Also, that's crazy.
Some of the replies, I love these replies. Somebody replies, these are my favorites, the slightly off everyday glitches.
Yeah.
Somebody else replies and says Schrodinger's Chinese food. And then somebody else replies, that's like the USB of dinner events. Try it this way. Nope. Okay, the other way. Nope. Try it again the first way. Now it works. I swear USB plugs operate in 4 dimensions.
Yep, I agree.
Another story. I'm fascinated by this one. I hope this counts. I've stopped telling people this story. It's all this stuff we talked about today. So it's not just glitches, but it's all stuff.
Okay.
Hope this counts. I've stopped telling people this story as no one ever believes me. I'll never forget it. It's been driving me crazy for 30 years. I'm sorry for the length of this. When I was a kid in England in primary school around 1987-ish, a new kid joined the school on a temporary basis for a term. He had an American accent and was a ginger. His name was Lee. Before he left us, he brought into school what today would look like some sort of tablet computer, but this was very thin with brown tan glass. He had cartoons on it. He totally loved cartoons and movies. I swear this happened. I didn't dream it.
When was this?
87.
30 years ago.
There were nothing like this was around in 87. It was amazing. There was a crowd of kids who saw it, and the reaction was interesting because they liked it and wanted one. There was absolutely nothing that existed at the time other than Nintendo Game & Watches and calculators. But we all just sort of accepted it and didn't think it was magical, but now looking back, it certainly was. I said to him it was like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy prop used in the TV series. He didn't know what I was talking about. He kept it away from the teachers and never brought it back in. I kept asking him questions about his calculator TV, and he would just give vague answers and say he didn't know. But when I asked him where he bought it from, he said his dad got it from the United States. One other thing he said is that he told me he saw a movie which, quote, had every cartoon character ever. I later realized he was talking about the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which came out over a year after he told me about watching it on his device. This was 30 years ago, and you can imagine how difficult it was in all this time to try to describe this thing as tablets hadn't been invented yet. I used to draw diagrams of it and show it to people. I went crazy when I saw the Tom Hanks movie Big, the scene where he pitches a handheld comic book video device. My parents just sort of acknowledged it, humoring me. When Star Trek The Next Generation came out and their pad was shown on the screen, I yelled, "That's it, that's the thing." Eventually, the iPad came out, and I remember thinking, finally, at last. Today, it's obvious to me that this was a tablet computer, and now my story sounds so much more convenient and BS-y because they're everywhere now. I suppose I could track down some of the other kids on Facebook to prove this. I bet they would remember, but naturally, no one believes me. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like, if it's true... Oh, I spit on myself. If it's true, this kid had a iPad in 87, and I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Now
totally.
to you.
All right. First off, this is a throwaway. Are these all from Reddit?
Yes.
Okay. Since I've got loads of friends who know my Reddit handle, and I don't want them to think I've gone mental, so I'm using this account instead. I haven't told this to anybody for the same reason, but found this subreddit and figured sharing our experience anonymously can't hurt. Right around before Christmas, me and my significant other were both home and just both doing our own things when I went to the kitchen to grab something to drink. It was already dark outside, so I flipped the switch to turn the lights on, but accidentally hit it again as I was lowering my hand, which turned the lights off. So naturally, I tried turning the light back on, but it didn't go back on. So I figured the light bulb fried and thought nothing of it and hollered to my significant other that when she comes back from meeting a friend, she could drop by a store and get a new light bulb. She couldn't hear me properly since there's a hallway between the kitchen and the living room, so she came to me, and after I told her to get a new bulb, she asked which light bulb I'm talking about. I was pretty much confused about why she would ask me that since we only have one light source in the kitchen if you exclude the fridge, so I told her I'm talking about the lamp, of course, to which she replied, "Why do we need a new one? It's working fine." For her, the light was perfectly fine.
The story is so strange to me.
And the kitchen was lit. To me, the light was off and everything was dark. I told her that the light's off and it's obviously dark in here, which was the point. She started looking at me strangely as if I'd gone a bit insane. She then flipped the light on and off repeatedly, and for me, nothing changed. But she told me it's working fine and asked me how I couldn't possibly see it turning on and off. I wonder if he was having like a medical emergency. At that point, I was confident she was just trying to mess with my head and told her to stop playing jokes and just get a new bulb, but she kept arguing back the lamp works fine. I was still sure she was trying to mess with me, just to a greater extent than I'd thought, so I said, "All right, I'll take out my phone and take 2 pictures. One when the light is off and one when it's on for you. If I get one picture where the light is on when you say it's on, I'll agree to anything you want for me for the entire week." By then, she started looking a bit more freaked out, but agreed to it anyway, so I took the first photo with the light off, and when she flipped the switch, I took another and immediately noticed the thumbnail in the iPhone's camera app that shows the latest photo that it was bright. I opened the photo and the light was on, even though I was still seeing nothing at that very moment. We tried it again a couple of times, and each time produced the same result. For her, everything was the way it was supposed to be, and for me, the light was constantly off. She was now completely freaked out and insisted I call an ambulance or a psychiatric helpline and kept asking me how I feel, if anything else seems off, etc. Although I felt completely normal other than being completely stunned by what had just happened, and I did question my own sanity for a bit, but dismissed it once I realized this was just one thing that was wrong and everything else was completely normal, and I felt completely normal. I have no idea what to think of this. We were both right there talking to each other, but one detail was different for the two of us.
That's so weird to me.
It's very weird. I've never heard of anything like this. If there were actually 2 worlds somehow intertwining, I'd at least expect her to have been in the same position and see the light off at all times, or my phone to take pictures with the lights off, but that's not how it was. So after thinking about this for a few weeks, the most logical conclusion I've come to was that it was just me who was in a different universe world, anything rather than anything surrounding me or in my hands. By now, my significant other has also calmed down and chalked it up to something unexplainable or a burst of insanity in my head, and still insists that if anything similar should ever happen to me, I seek psychological help right away. Also, the lamp worked fine after I went to test it again in about a half an hour after this happened. I don't know what that is.
Too long, didn't read.
Oh.
That's just like that's on a lot of Reddits where people just sum up what they put in there.
A lamp was working fine and was on for my significant other while it was completely dark for me, but pictures taken with my phone proved her right. Oh, that's interesting. He literally subbed up the whole thing in a sentence, even though I still wasn't seeing the light turn on.
Which is weird, because if you think it was some kind of medical thing, like she wouldn't have seen the light on the phone either, but she was able to see the light on the phone, just not in reality.
Right.
So that's weird.
Yeah, very weird. Do I read another one? This story took place several years ago, but I have never been able to forget it. It keeps popping up at random, quiet times and makes me wonder what the hell really happened. Sorry, I just said hell.
That's okay.
My husband and I were considering moving further from the city than we are now. We live about 45 minutes west of St. Louis, Missouri. We drove outside of Union, Missouri, to a town called Rosebud to look at a home on some acres. After looking at the house, we decided to drive around the area to see what the neighborhood was like. This is a very rural area, and the roads off Highway 50 were gravel. We took one road after another and were pleasantly lost in the beautiful countryside. We got on one little gravel road that was in bad shape, so we had to go real slow to keep from sliding. We came upon a little abandoned church that was sitting right next to the road. We crept by it really slowly, looking at it. The windows were gone and there was no paint left. The bell tower was still there, but no bell. We could look right through the front windows to the windows on the other side. It was dark inside, but I could see that there were old, empty pews still there, which surprised me. I would have thought they'd have been stolen long ago. Neither of us said a word and just drove on in silence. I was thinking what a crime it was to let such a neat old structure fall into ruin and assumed Charlie was thinking the same. Then he turned to me and said, "What do you think they were doing in there?" I didn't understand, and he explained. All those people. Ooh. Well, the gist of the story is that I saw no one, and Charlie saw a church full of people just sitting in the pews looking ahead or with their heads down. After a couple minutes of bantering with each other, I insisted we turn around and have a second look. We headed back, and this is where it gets even weirder. Oh, man.
No church.
No church. We at first thought we had not gone far enough. Then we thought we went too far. No church. We found right where it should have been, and there was just rocky grass that had been there a long time. We talk of it now and then, but still can't figure out a reasonable solution.
That's so weird.
I mean, it's almost like he saw an imprint. Okay, they both saw an imprint
yeah,
of
but
the
for
past,
her,
and
for
his
her,
went a little further.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. I love that story.
That's creepy.
This one weirds me out. It's not really creepy, but it weirds me out. This happened about 15 years ago. I called my friend up and he wasn't at home, so I left a quick message on his answering machine. I said, "Hey, it's me. Sorry I missed you. I'll call you later. Bye." And then I hung up and left the house. I made no other calls. Later that day, he called back and said, "I got the message you left. Who was that girl you were talking to?" I was like, "What are you talking about? I wasn't talking to any girl." Well, as it turns out, the message didn't end after I said bye. I went over to his house and listened to the message a few times. After my initial message that I did leave, as quoted above, there was a slight pause, and then it continues on for another 30 or 40 seconds or so with me talking to some girl. It was my voice, but a conversation I never had with a girl whose voice I didn't recognize. You could compare it to the message I know I did leave, and the two voices were indistinguishable. Not just the voice, but, my talking mannerisms. It was my voice. Also, references in our overheard conversation about my occupation and activities were the same. Basically, in this conversation I was having with this girl, I was talking about going skiing, but I had to go down to my shop and work on my car first, which totally correlated to me. Then the message just stopped. It was recorded on one of those digital answering machines that recorded the message to a chip, so there was no tape I could take to analyze, unfortunately. And neither I nor my friend had party lines, so that's not an explanation. It was just so freaky, I can't explain it.
That's
Too long,
weird.
didn't read. I may have connected to an alternate universe through a telephone answering machine. That one is so weird.
That's crazy.
That would freak me out. I'm looking for shorter ones now because of this.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the camera. I can see there's not a lot of time left, too.
This one's weird to me. Pretty late to the party, but I've always wanted to recount this story. When I was in high school, a group of friends and I did an archaeological dig of a Roman fort in South Shields, UK. I had never been out of the United States, so we took the train up to Edinburgh for some sightseeing. We really enjoyed ourselves until the evening when we went out for drinks. As we were walking back to our hotel, a group of 2 women and 1 man approached our group. For whatever reason, I was overcome with anxiety. As they got closer, I saw that they were 3 of the most beautiful and arrogant-looking people I've ever seen. Bright blue eyes, perfect hair, perfectly fitted, all black clothing. Everyone in my group noticed that they seemed, for the lack of a better word, powerful. What happened next blew my mind. They walked up to us and inquired as to what we were doing. We sort of half lied and just stood there awkwardly. Someone mentioned that we were heading to London the following day. One of the women looked at us and said that we must avoid the tube and buses and that it would be best to get out of the country as soon as possible. By that point, we were all extremely creeped out, but made it to our hotel. The following morning, we took an early flight back to London and took a cab to our hotel. That was the day of the London tube bombings. 6 years later, I'm visiting my girlfriend who's getting her MS at the University of Edinburgh, and we're at some pub, and I see the same woman and man who talked to me half a decade ago. Even though I look completely different now, the woman walked up to me and said that I was right to have taken her advice. It was the single most spine-chilling event of my life, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. Yeah, so that's weird. Okay, now you...
Are we skipping around to shorter ones? Because we're really running out of time.
Yeah.
This one is... I just skipped ahead to this one. Years ago, there was a school shooting at my school. You may have heard of it. It was Columbine. Who hasn't heard of Columbine?
Yeah.
It was like the school shooting.
This one is weird. This one's weird to me.
I was out of the building at the time for lunch with friends. When we realized we couldn't return to school, we went to my house and called our families. The traffic was so bad that my friends stayed with me watching the news until late that evening. 2 days later, a special edition of Newsweek magazine hit the racks. The cover photos was a group of girls.
I looked this up. I Googled this to look for the cover, and I did find the cover.
It?
Yeah.
The cover photos was a group of girls walking, crying, taken just off, I'm sure I've seen it, taken just off school grounds where families were meeting their kids during the shooting. The strange things was that 2 of those girls were at lunch with me and were at my house the rest of the day. There would not have been an opportunity to take that photo of them. They never understood where that photo came from.
Isn't that weird?
That is
a
weird.
lot of people were tying this into the belief in crisis actors that it was all fake and that was photoshopped.
I never heard that about Columbine.
No, I never heard that about Columbine, but I found the picture, and it's just creepy. It's weird to look at the picture and know this person's story that said he was with 2 of those girls that are in that picture.
That's like a split universe thing.
I'm going to read this one because I like this one, and the reply made me laugh. It was given to you, but I just scrolled through it, and it's short.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote, "This isn't very creepy, but it happened to me just yesterday. I was walking through a grocery store, Loblaws, which I guess is a Canadian store.
Oh, okay.
I was walking through a grocery store, Loblaws. I was just leaving the cereal aisle when a cart filled with groceries came around the corner directly in front of me. I waited for whoever was pushing the cart to move, but after about 45 seconds, they hadn't budged. I peered around the corner of the aisle to tell the shopper that they had cut me off, but there was nobody there. I pushed the cart away, and everything went dead silent. I walked around the store for a little bit, and to my horror, everybody was gone. There were unattended carts scattered all around the store, and no lines at the checkout, and no clerks either. It lasted for about 5 minutes, and then everything returned to normal." And somebody replied and said, "Wow, I'd be interested to hear your definition of creepy."
That's extremely creepy.
That is extremely creepy. This is a quick one. I like this one. "I was eating popcorn in front of the TV and I dropped a piece. When it should have hit the ground, I heard a weird, faint popping noise. My mom was a stickler about messes, so I searched all over, under the couch, under the TV stand, everywhere, and I couldn't find that piece of popcorn. About a year later, I'm watching TV again and I hear the same faint popping noise. I look down and now right between my feet is a freshly popped kernel of popcorn. I picked it up and it was still warm. I'd been sitting there for half an hour and there was nobody else in the room. Too long, didn't read, quantum popcorn."
Quantum popcorn. I could get behind some quantum popcorn.
Yep.
I found a shorty I can read. This is kind of silly and in the very low key end of glitches, but I wanted to share anyway. A year or so ago, a fork suddenly appeared in my cutlery drawer.
Oh, I was just looking at that one. I like this one.
It wasn't the most beautiful fork, but it was love at first use. The handle was flat but rounded. The prongs were the perfect length and thickness. It was the perfect fork. I had no idea where it came from, but I currently live with my parents, and they are very into the whole thrift shopping and antique scene. Nothing in our house matches except our plates. They are hideous. So it would kind of make sense for them to bring home a solitary fork. That's something I would do too. This fork becomes my go-to fork right away. I exclusively eat with this fork. I will hand wash it if it's dirty, no problem. One day I realized that I never seem to have to wash it anymore. There's always a clean one just waiting for me. It clicks. There's 2 of them now. Wow, okay, my parents must have figured out how much I love this fork and gotten another one. I went away for a short holiday in Sweden, and when I got home and sat at the table for dinner for the first time, there was 3. Now there's 4. I'm just happy I never run out of my favorite fork anymore, but I figured I'd just ask my parents just for fun. They have no idea about the fork. They definitely haven't been taking home single forks over the last year, and it turns out they hate these magnificent forks. It leads to a conversation where I had the pleasure of explaining glitches in the Matrix to my dad, and he agrees that that's what must have happened. I don't understand how, but I have a multiplying fork that just so happens to be the perfect fork for me. I hope I'll have a whole set when I finally move out.
I love that story.
I actually love that, yeah. I have a favorite spoon.
Do you?
That Jim found buried in the backyard of our old house.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You use it?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
This one is weird. I don't know if I buy this one. Around 12 years of age.
I just skipped that one too.
Around 12 years of age, my mom let me stay in the truck as she went grocery shopping. As I wait, I see this old guy walking towards a truck with an indescribable look on his face, looking at me as if I know too much. He stopped around 5 feet or so away from the truck, stared at me for a couple seconds, then turned and headed back the same way he came. It was rather traumatic for me for some reason, and very confusing at that age. 5 or 6 years later, my dad was showing me home videos of us at Yellowstone Park at Old Faithful when I was just a baby. In the video, I noticed the same man, same look, wearing the same clothes. In the video, he is peering at us on camera and almost looking at me through the TV. I'm freaked out just telling this. That's so crazy.
That is crazy.
Any other quickies?
I found, the next ones are a couple down. I live in New York City. The L train runs from Brooklyn to Manhattan under the East River. In Manhattan, the stops are First Ave, 3rd, then Union Square, which is a major transfer point. During morning rush hour in 2012, I was in packed L train, which emerged from the East River at First Ave, opened its doors per usual, closed them, then proceeded along the track as usual. About 30 seconds later, the train stopped and the announcer, quote, First Ave, 3rd Ave next, stand clear. I looked around a bit stunned, but the bleary-eyed passengers were mostly staring into their phones. I imagine I must have just gotten confused. Essentially, they already went past the stop that they're making now. The doors closed again. The train took off down the track, slowed down, stopped, and opened its doors. The announcer, First Ave, 3rd next, stand clear. This time I poked my head out quickly and saw it definitely was First Ave. I spoke up, shyly, to no one in particular. Hey, did anyone notice we stopped at First Ave 3 times? But just 1 or 2 people kind of looked up quizzically and then evaded eye contact. The doors then closed. The train took off, slowed down after 30 seconds or so, and opened. 3rd Avenue, Union Square next, stand clear. The train then continued west on the track, normal as could be. For years I've thought about this event. I was there, cognizant and clear-eyed as ever, clutching a coffee, but I've never found any explanation.
That's weird.
Yeah.
What time are we looking at?
I have one more.
I have one too that I want to read, so you can read yours first.
We're at 2 hours exactly.
Okay, read yours first, and I'll read mine, and then we'll go into the song and the stuff.
Listener question.
Yep.
I think we saw a time traveler. So this happened about a week ago, but my memory is still pretty fresh. My boyfriend and I were in the car on the way to get dinner and chatting casually. Everything was normal. As we pulled up to a red light, somebody caught my attention. There was a guy, I'd say between 15 and 18 years old, walking on the sidewalk across the street. I noticed him because he looked like he was straight out of 2004. Baggy jeans, gray beanie, and a black T-shirt over a long-sleeve white T-shirt. So many people dress like that now.
I know.
I thought it was funny, figured he was some kind of skater, exactly, and pointed it out to my boyfriend and made some joke about the guy being from the 2000s. We both agreed he looked out of place, and that's when we started joking that he must be a time traveler. I said something like, he's probably thinking, whoa, dude, where am I? And as soon as I said it, the guy started to look around like he was confused. We were in a car and across a busy street from him. No way he heard us. We remarked that it was weird as we watched the guy look around confused for a few moments. Then we both looked away for no more than half a second. I don't remember why, and when we turned back, the guy was gone. At first, we laughed and thought it was funny, but the more we looked, the more we realized he had nowhere to go, and he really just completely disappeared. I can't stress this enough. We both barely looked away, and he had nowhere to go that we wouldn't be able to see him. We both freaked out and drove most of the rest of the way in silence while we thought about time travel.
Weird.
Yeah, that's very
Okay,
weird.
this is the last one we'll do. This one weirds me out, too. This person writes, the absolute weirdest thing happened to me this morning, and I'm still trying to think of a rational explanation for it. I'm going to say my name is Sarah. I have a couple of husky puppies who wake me up at the butt crack of dawn every morning. So this morning it was a little after 5 a.m. and I was taking them for a walk. I live in this very quiet suburban neighborhood, so it was pretty peaceful with the birds singing and the rest of the neighborhood still asleep. I was a couple of blocks from my own house, right around the turnaround point for our regular morning walk route, when out of nowhere I heard this robotic male voice. It sounded like it was coming from the sky overhead me, but it also sounded distant, if that makes sense. And it said, quote, Sarah is walking her dogs. Now, first let me say that I do not have a common name. I was sadly
Sarah.
No, I was sad. Didn't want to say her name. Yeah. I was sadly one of those kids who never found their name on any of the fun personalized keychains.
Same.
Also, I've met my immediate neighbors, but absolutely no one anywhere in the area I was walking that time would have known my name. I stopped in my tracks and looked all around me, but didn't see anything other than dark houses and bunny rabbits. It scared the hell out of me, so I sped up and practically sprinted back home with the dogs.
That's weird.
That's weird. That's almost
like
like
you're
she's
being watched.
Yeah.
And they're like, she's walking her dog.
Yeah. From a robotic voice in the sky.
Yuck.
So there you go. There are some glitch stories. We didn't get to a ton of them, which just means they will be in our upcoming story episode.
Nice.
Yep. So jumping into song choice. Ready?
Yep.
I love this song. This is just one of these songs. I'd actually never really listened to much from these two, but this showed up in my suggested songs like a year ago, and I'm like, oh my God, this is such a good song. Some of the quotes underneath it. Somebody writes, quote, I'm a straight male that typically listens to punk and hardcore, but I'm not ashamed to admit that this is one of my favorite songs of all time and somehow ends up on all of my playlists. It still hits so hard after all these years. Somebody else writes, quote, "This song makes me want to kick down my door screaming and just violently commence dancing while maintaining eye contact with anyone in the nearby vicinity." Somebody else writes, "This is a song about the anticipation before the kiss, before anything gets physical. It's a love song that conjures adolescent longing, no matter how old you are, with impossibly catchy, cleverly rhyming lyrics. And it's that cherishing of that gap between anticipation and release, asking to be closer, not touching, cherishing the moment before you realize you're in too deep." Somebody else writes, quote, "I'm a 38-year-old country boy who drives an old rusted 1970 Chevy pickup, and I absolutely love these girls. I crank them as loud as I can with the windows down. They're so talented, it's ridiculous." Somebody else writes, I like this. Somebody else writes, quote, "It's strange how life works, how it just kind of flows like water. One minute I was 9 years old in the back seat of the car looking out the window as this song plays and the wind blows. Not much is on my mind except for McDonald's nuggets, LOL. And the next I am 19 years old and miserable, and the only thing that's mostly on my mind is a person that I want to come closer and McDonald's nuggets. Sometimes I wish I could go back in time. I'm not happy these days, but other times I would stay in this timeline. I kind of like the current me. I've changed, for the better or for the worse, I'm not sure. I change every day."
I love how that ties into our topic.
I know.
Today.
I thought about that when I put that in here too. "The child I was 11 years ago is buried somewhere within the person I am now. I'm not sure who I am right now, and I'm not sure who I'll be in 3 days from now, but it's strange how life works." And this is the awesome song "Closer" by Tegan and Sarah.
I know who Tegan and Sarah
Yeah,
is.
like they're super. Like I looked at a
it.
bunch of their stuff and they are so good. But I love the song "Closer." I never remember hearing this on the radio. I think it was a hit, but it's such a good song. I love, love, love the song "Closer" by Tegan and Sarah. So that's my song for today. Listener question, we have one quick one that I was asked personally. Somebody says, quote, and I almost forgot about this. Somebody said, "Kurt mentioned in an episode that he had a crush on two actresses who once played the same character. Who the heck is it?" Any idea? Mm-mm. It was a popular TV show years ago. A form of it is still on. There was a daughter in the family who was played by two different people during the course of the show. Yes.
Okay.
It was Becky from Roseanne.
Oh, yeah.
She was played by Sarah Chalk, who, when she was Elliot Reed on Scrubs, is like one of my biggest TV crushes. And she's played
the second one.
Yes, but she was originally played by Lacey Goranson, who is on the show now. And I am just like so in love with her. And I don't know what it is, but I just absolutely have such a crush on Lacey Goranson. She's so pretty. So that's my two crushes that played the same character: Becky from Roseanne, Sarah Chalk, and Lacey Goranson. And the question we were asked is, if you could instantly learn one personal skill, what would it be? And you knew yours already.
Speaking another language.
Okay, you knew yours already when I texted you last.
Specifically German. I really want to speak German. I want to know my ancestors' language.
But that you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I have an app. I work at it, but it's not easy.
I was torn on this one because instantly learn. Like my original thought was painting. Like I want to paint. I want to paint the pictures I see in my head. I want to paint stuff, but I don't know if that's something you can necessarily learn.
I think it is.
So
I think some people are born with that talent.
I think some people are born with it, but I don't think that's a thing you can learn.
I do.
Okay.
I've seen it happen.
Because I wasn't sure about that, I'm going to say playing the piano, because I would love to play the piano. And that's something I think I could learn. Yeah. But I don't think painting, I think you could learn it, but I think if you're gifted with that skill, I think it's different.
It probably will never have the substance that someone who's born with that talent would have. Yep. But I think you can learn to do it. I love art. I would love to be able to do that, but I just can't. One of the interesting things I was listening to on the podcast right when I was pulling up to your house today, actually, it was about that Rizwan one. And the idea that we're in a computer simulation. And he said some people believe that we enter the simulation. It's our choice. We just don't remember we enter it. And he said that it's almost like a role-playing game where before you come in, you pick your skills. Avatar?
Yeah, well, you pick your skills. Like you give yourself, some people give themselves a higher charisma, and some people give themselves a higher strength. Some people give themselves, you're allotted these points.
You're magic focused.
Yeah, which is interesting to think that some people give themselves the gift of art when they come into this. So I just thought that was really fascinating.
That's interesting.
I was not given the gift of art, that's for sure. So there you go. Thank you so much for the questions, listeners. You can email us at thestrangesessions@gmail.com. We are on Instagram, where Krista does an amazing job at The Strange Sessions. Love you, Instagram listeners. You can send postcards and snail mail, please, because we haven't gotten anything in the mailbox lately, to The Strange Sessions, P.O. Box 434, Manitowoc, Wisconsin, 54221-0434. You can call our lonely phone line at 920-443-9602. And you can send listener stories to thestrangesessionsstories@gmail.com.
Sweet.
And I think that is it.
What does your note say?
What note?
What does this say?
Note, the topic discussion starts at.
Oh.
So I know to put that. So I know to put that in the show notes.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I know I have to put that in the show notes.
Yeah,
So,
I'll have to, once I edit stuff out,
Yeah.
I'll have to figure out those.
So hopefully this
timestamps.
episode was okay. I know it was a little dense, and I know some people don't
little
care
heavy.
about the nature of reality stuff, but I think it's fascinating. I think it's the most fascinating mystery of existence, to be honest with you.
Because I think it's connected to so
To
many
everything.
mysteries.
Yeah, I think it connects to everything
Yeah.
else. And we had, like I said, so many more stories, but we're going to save those for our upcoming stories episode. There was one string of them that I'm not even going to spoil it, but it was like a good string of ones in common. So
Okay.
we're gonna put that in that
I like
episode.
those.
And again, we will not have a new episode 2 weeks from now. We are going to replay one of our old side sessions episode that most
We
of
think
you,
you'll enjoy.
yeah, most of you didn't get to listen to. Like, I'm fascinated by this story. It's a true crime
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a true crimey one. So thank you guys so much for listening. Anything else we want to say before the camera shuts off?
Nope, we love you.
We love you guys. Thank you so much. And from Krista and I, until next time, stay
Stay strange.
strange.